Welcome to At the Table, a podcast from Quest Fellowship Church. In each episode, we explore how faith intersects with real life, how we navigate culture, community, and personal growth as followers of Jesus. These are just conversations, not conclusions, and space to simply think deeply, listen well, and walk in this journey together. We hope you enjoy today's show.
All right. So at the conference the other week, there was something that got said that I thought was really interesting, and I mentioned it a couple of times in staff meeting, but I just think it's really good to kind of get our heads around as far as church goes. And it was the idea that a church can be one of three different types of boats. Like it could be a cruise ship. So everybody's got a seat, it's fun, it's comfortable, and it's more of a fun experience for everybody. And there's not a lot of things that people are doing. You're just enjoying yourself on the boat. And then there's the warship, where like a church is either like we have to do something, we have a cause, we have this one thing that we're about, and that ship is just dead set on that cause. But then there's the idea of an aircraft carrier. And I thought that was interesting because it's similar to warship, but aircraft carrier, they bring in the ships, they land, they repair whatever needs to be repaired, they feed the pilots and all the people on the plane, and then they send them back out. And the thing is, with those last two ships, the warship and the aircraft carrier, it's all hands on deck situation. Like everybody from the bottom to the top ranks are doing something to make that all happen. And I don't know. What kind of churches do you feel like in the past you've been a part of or you've seen? Like which of those is the most common in your eyes?
I'd probably say from the experience that I've had, man, being at mega churches, not to put a bad name on mega churches, but some of the churches that I've come out of didn't really do that well of a job equipping people to actually go and do the work, act, be just a pivotal part of their community. It's just been more come to this service, get all the tangibles, the consumables, and, it feels good. I mean, you got your coffee, your right and left hand, you're coming in with your family, you're sitting into a beautiful state-of-the-art facility, so, they're going to have a great time. You go in, great worship, great sermon, and then it's cut, and then you're on a Monday, Saturday, and then it's kind of dry, and then it's like, okay, next weekend. Next week, like it just keeps going and going. What are your thoughts on that?
So that sounds like a cruise ship kind of situation, for the most part. I just think consumables, and it makes me think all the things you get to consume and eat on a cruise ship. And it's more like it's there for you to enjoy and to have a good time at. But the thing that I've noticed with some of the churches that I've been in growing up and everything is, at least on the leadership level, there was like warship talk. Like, hey, we need to go do this. But it sailed like a cruise ship.
Still, yeah.
So everybody was really comfortable. Nobody really wanted to kind of break that comfort. And because of that, it actually prevented the mission from being done through that church. The vision that the leaders and that God had given to that church. It wasn't able to fully be realized. And I think that's interesting, because there seems to be this, it's widespread, I feel, like this cruise ship mentality just in church in general and in Christianity, because, I mean, it's so easy to just go and be a part of something and enjoy it and have fun. But then whenever, like, it demands something of you, like, whether it's in church or whether it's outside of church in your the regular day-to-day life of things, when your faith starts to require things of you, that's where you have to realize, okay, I can't just be sitting under the sun by the pool on the boat. Like, I got to have a little bit of a warship mindset here.
Yeah, I think it's it could be tough for a lot of people, because obviously, people are coming from different ages and stages of life. There's no one story that's the same. So, you get a place that's like Quest, where it's like, man, this is a safe place. Like, I found my church. Now I just need to come and just receive. Oh man, it feels so good. Like the worship, the message is fire. Like, but it's a dangerous place to be when you just stay within that pocket and you're not going to actually do the things that have been commanded of Scripture. I think that's where I wrote this down, where we start coasting, we get comfortable, complacent. I like alliteration, but like that whole pocket, when you find yourself in that vein, you're not making an impact. You're just comfortable. It's like that us for no more mentality, and we're not growing. We've now become stagnant, and there's no movement happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the thing that's interesting is there's a ceiling on how much you can grow when you're comfortable.
Right.
And it's almost like when you do worship, like Oceans. Like we used to sing that song all the time back in the day. And the whole thing was like, take me like where my feet like normally wouldn't go. Like take me beyond where I'm comfortable out to the deepest part of the water.
Yeah, we don't want that.
And we don't really want that. But I think part of us does.
Yeah.
Like we desire that. We long for that in like some part of our heart. But then it's when it starts to demand things, when it's like, okay, step out of the boat. You've been on a cruise ship. I want you to step out and start walking on this water.
Right.
And that's scary.
Yeah.
And I think that just kind of puts us in a place where we go, okay, do I want to do that? Because that requires something of me. And I mean, one thing I think is cool about Quest, at least from my perspective, it seems like for a while we've been in kind of like a warship mindset.
Sure, yeah.
Like I remember that was one of the things I loved getting here. Like, okay, I'm at a church where I feel like I can be on mission. I can really buy into what we're trying to do here.
Right.
Because everything's so genuine, everything's so authentic. Like there's not a lot of ego, but there's a lot of good personality. And we're trying, at least like when I first got here, the goal was, hey, like the gospel breaks down walls and it reconciles people from all tribes, tongues, and nations. Like let's build a multicultural movement based out of the gospel. And that was super cool for me and attractive to me. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's great. That's exactly what we see in scripture. And I feel like we've had that worship mentality, but I think as we've kind of sailed further into that, I think it's easy for us now that we feel like, hey, you come to church and you look around and there's people from different tribes, tongues, and nations around us.
Right, growth is happening.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so that fight's done, right?
Right.
And it's not done. It's always going to be a fight that we're going to be because it's part of our DNA. But at the same time, once we start to feel like the fight's done, then we start to shift our battleship to a cruise ship a little bit.
Right.
And it's easy to just kind of let that drift because it's always easier to go towards something that's more comfortable.
Right.
When we really like the idea of the having a fight to go at together.
Yeah. And I think it's easy, I think, because I've been here as a congregant to look at the staff and look at the pastors as they've got it. They're going to be the ones discipling. They're going to be the ones doing the work. Again, I'm at a safe place, so I feel comfortable trusting their leadership when I don't think that's what the word has called us to do. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it makes me think of some experiences I've had where, I was in more of like traditional smaller churches growing up, and there were only really like the pastor, maybe an associate pastor, maybe a part-time music person, and maybe the pastor was sometimes the only full-time person on staff.
Right.
So a lot of the work had to be carried out by the community and the congregation. So you had people stepping up, like you had moms stepping up to help with kids or helping up to lead VBS during the summer. Right. You had like all these different people in the church taking on ownership of these different areas. But because there wasn't a lot of oversight from somebody who had like a cohesive vision for what it could be, it kind of it could go in whatever direction. There wasn't a lot of structure to it. Okay. But that was good, at least in one way, because the community was actually being the church. Okay. And they were doing the ministry, like not just pushing it all off on like, hey, you're the pastor, your job is to do the ministry. Right. They saw it as like, no, we're the community here at the church. We all have a part to play in this. You're here to feed us so we can do this. Because you think about it, like Jesus told Peter, like, feed my sheep. Yeah, right, he gave the first kind of like pastor, he gave him the mandate to feed the sheep, and the sheep were going to be the ones helping do a lot of that work. And I think I don't know what's happened in kind of church culture, world culture, but it feels like recently, as churches have gotten to the place where we can have staffs now, it kind of feels like the 5 moms that were running the kids ministry. Oh, thank goodness there's a person to do this. We'll offload this all on you. When really I was talking to I think Brandon about this the other day. It's like you get a person on staff to help with that. Yeah. It's like now we don't just need 5 people. We need maybe 10. Right. Because the reason we put you there is because things are going well. We need to figure out how to make this even better. Right. Like, to give more vision and structure
to multiply that?
To multiply it, yeah. I think that's kind of a mindset we can get into. We kind of say, okay, I'm just going to offload ministry onto the people who are like quote unquote ministers or leaders. And I think sometimes even as leaders in a church, we can kind of see that. I know that's when I was doing youth, I had leaders come to me and they were like, give us something to do. And I felt, but you're not getting paid to do it. I'm the one who's getting paid to do it. Sure. And I remember one specific leader came to me and said, I come here on Sundays because I want to serve.
Yeah.
So like let me help you.
Yeah.
And that was a eye opener for me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, you're telling me exactly what like you read in Ephesians, where it's like, like you as a leader, a minister, you're supposed to equip the saints for the work of ministry. That means you're not the only one doing it. You're all doing it together. You're helping equip them to go and be able to really take the impact that you can make by yourself. Because let's be real, none of us can make that big of an impact by ourselves.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. How do you, from a congregant standpoint, how do you get, like, where's the motivation and the conviction come from to actually take the next step in that journey of, you know what, because of what I know about who Jesus is and what he's calling me to, now I'm actually going to go and do the work. I think, kind of what we've been talking about, is easy to kind of stay in that pocket of coming and receiving than it is giving. How do I say, you know what, it's time. Like, it's time to go and serve our community, our people on the job, at home. Like, what are some ways to do that?
So, like, I can't speak for everybody, obviously. My personal journey with this, when I really started taking my faith more beyond just myself, was when I started to really start to feel convicted by the things I was sitting and hearing every week. Like, I'm hearing, like, therefore go and make disciples. I'm hearing, like, Jesus coming to seek and save the lost. And he's doing these things for others. And it's like, okay, at one point I was the other. And now I feel like Jesus has done a lot of big things in my life. So now at what point am I going to be like, okay, now I'm on your team helping you do that? And it was like the conviction that came along with, like, you're not the mission field anymore. If you're here and you're really a believer, you're following me, you're not a part of you've already been harvested.
Right.
You're now a worker.
I got you. Yeah.
And I think that's, at least from my experience, that's what got me to think, okay, I really need to start stepping up into this, because I was convicted by what I was hearing. I was like, this is true. And if this is true, it demands something of me.
Yeah.
And if I truly am convicted by this, and I do believe this is the case, like, even obviously there are days where I don't want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's going to be something unsettled when I don't.
Right.
Because it's like something is shifted at the bottom of the pyramid that's caused me to feel when I'm out of step with what I feel like I've been captured by when it comes to what Jesus is calling us all to do.
Right. I think there's also a thing where I don't feel qualified. I'm not good enough. There's no way that I can do what they're doing or serve how they're serving. They have such a level of excellence. I couldn't be a part of that. Just want to squash that, man. That's just, yes, of course, we are, at some capacity, we're paid to do what we do because God has blessed us with the gifts that we have. But it's not just to do it by ourselves, lonely, isolated. No, it's to, I believe, give our giftings to other people, to grow other people into their potential and what they could be. Can you speak to a little bit about, like, how we could do a better job at that? Well,
one thing that I heard at the conference to kind of speak on I just don't feel like I'm prepared or ready for this thing.
Yeah.
I remember one of the speakers, he mentioned this in one of the breakouts. I was like, there's no way. So I had to go back and do my, like, Bible nerd thing and look it up. But he was talking about that passage where it's like in Matthew where he says, the harvest is plentiful. And he's like, pray to God that he raises up workers for the harvest.
Yeah.
So he was talking about, what he's asking there, and you look in Greek, it's not like, hey, raise up these people. The word is literally ekbalo, which literally means to throw out. Like, grab you by the collar and just throw you out into it. It literally is a forcing out into the field. So, and I think he mentioned that. I was, that's kind of funny, because that kind of feels like what it is like sometimes. I'm just kind of thrown into it, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah,
I'm having to figure it out as I go, and I think there's a lot of grace in that, because at least I'm being faithful and stepping out into it. And it kind of feels like I might be in over my head sometimes. I'm learning this, and I mean, the thing is, we're all learning all the time. Like, even as leaders, like with teams that we are in charge of, we're still learning, and we're still learning new ways and better ways.
Exactly.
And we might be doing something good, we might be doing something great, and there's always greater. There's always better that we can do. And we're all learning as leaders and as people who are following. And as long as we're being faithful. And it's like, hey, I just think it's funny that Jesus says, hey, I want you to pray that God literally throws people out into the field to work.
Right.
Like, not ask them kindly, but like, hey, like, just get out there and we'll figure it out together.
Right.
But because the harvest is so plentiful.
Right.
And like, it's like Jesus looking at all these crowd, and he's just moved.
Yeah.
He's like, do you guys not just see the harvest?
It is a tough tension point, though. Like, if I'm just kind of coming to more of the leader side to do that, to just go and just make it happen, stop playing games, because we like to come up with strategies, we like to come up with plans, we like to be prepared.
We don't worst about that.
We don't want to look like we don't know what we're doing. Because of that, we'll do this big rollout. But I think what we're learning as a staff, it doesn't necessarily require the biggest situation to happen before we launch or do this and that. And I think we're learning as a staff, like, how to do the strategy, but to also grace ourselves out to be doing it with our family, our church family, and learning from them even, and how to lead them, and that kind of thought system there. So
I mean, we say like, what, we write in pencil, we don't write in pen. So we always, when we feel like, man, maybe we haven't been doing this the right way, maybe we've been maybe we've been doing something and it's not like as in line with scripture as it should be. That's why we write in pencil, so we can correct that. And maybe we're doing something that's like, this isn't working. We give ourselves the grace and the ability to pivot and to try new things when it comes to on the leadership side of things. But I mean, I think it's just really, I don't know, it just gets me, man, when he just is like looking at all these people and he turns to disciples, he's like, the harvest is plentiful. And I think that's what gets me is, I think sometimes we can be so caught up in the comfort that we don't realize like that there's so much out there. And you think about, like, if you think about a cruise ship in the middle of a war zone, that's kind of a weird place for that to be. And like scripture says, hey, we're in a spiritual fight here. Like there's work for us to do. And it's weird to see a cruise ship sailing through a war zone. But I also think it's interesting with the aircraft carrier piece of it, because that takes it one step beyond the warship. Because the aircraft carrier isn't just meeting its own needs; it's also sending things out. And I think that's important too, because whether it's sending, like, helping support other churches, helping support other ministries, or whether it's literally equipping your people that are at your church to go and do ministry in their personal lives, like, really, that's how you know that ministry is bearing fruit. The fruit, Because it's like when you start seeing people do ministry by themselves, or when you start seeing connect groups say, like, hey, we want to champion this, we want to go and we want to work here, and we want to gather resources to go do this. Like, you start to realize, okay, like, you guys got it. Like, it's like you fly in, we help you get everything you need, we get you all fed up, we equip you for the work of ministry, and then we send you off, and you're going to go, and then, hey, maybe you need to come back and be like, hey, that strategy, what do we need to do differently? And we adjust the battle plans. But I think it's interesting that a warship is more isolated and insulated than a aircraft carrier, which is all about how can we send people out, send other like planes out to go do the mission while we're all supporting each other in that.
Sheesh.
I know, right? So
I think it's really hard for the church to grapple with the comfort thing, man. I'm telling you. Like, because, I think even within, like, the connect groups, I think capital C church, like, we get, like, really, like, happy with our people. And then it's kind of like, this is our group. Like, nobody can come into it. Like, now what's built here is so special. Like, we got to control it and we got to have it. So that, I think, is also another point of where we get complacent, where we kind of cap the lid, and then there's no more growing happening.
I mean, it's thinking about this in my role, like, it almost is like I have the same perspective of the harvest thing that Jesus was talking about in that moment, because like, we've been in, like, experiencing so much growth over the past, like, 3-4 years, and when I mean up until this past semester, we had maybe 9 or 10 connect groups. And then if you look at just how much growth we've had, like, if we were to try to fit everybody into those groups, it would be like 60-something people per group. And it's like, man, the harvest is, like, look around. The harvest is so plentiful. And, like, I can't tell you how many people have come to me and been like, hey, I'm interested in this for the first time, but maybe this one doesn't work for me, maybe that one doesn't work for me. And then it's almost like that what's growing, that seed that got planted, it's like we can't find a pot for it. And it's like, okay, how do we equip our people to make the space to go and whatever, whether it's inside of the ministries that we have at this church, whether it's outside of the ministries and the people's, like, personal life and their day-to-day, like, how do we really start to see the harvest? How do we start to see, like, we're not necessarily the ones needing to be the target of this. Maybe, obviously, we come here on a Sunday, and I mean, that's one of the things I loved about Quest when I first came was I felt like I was being convicted and comforted at the same time. Like it felt like
same. I can relate to that. Yeah.
Like all the I don't know, you step on my toes, you give me a hug, and it just feels like, man, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
But I think how do we, and I mean, we really can't do it by ourselves. Like the Spirit's got to be at play in this too. But like helping other people to see, okay, there's the harvest. We can't just do this by ourselves. We need everybody on board to do this. We need everybody on this aircraft carrier sending out these planes. We need everybody over here making the chow, doing all the things that you might not, running the boiler in the plane, like all these other, or in the ship, all these things that might even seem unnoticed. Like it's like all hands on deck because look at the fight that's in force. Look at the harvest.
Yeah.
Like here's your sickles. Here's all these tools you need to go out and do that.
Yeah.
It's like, think about the impact you can make.
Right.
Like think about if Quest were to, because we've been a warship. Think about what happens if Quest becomes an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Like what we can do.
Yeah.
In the world, in our church, in each other's lives. It like takes it all from one level to a whole other level.
Yeah. I think I'm speaking for the church a little bit here, but I think there's just also the fear that's tethered within being able to share their story and then share the gospel. And it doesn't have to be in such a deep way, but it's like, how do you go and do that if I'm going to be this person to this community? If I'm going to be this person on my job, what the heck does that even look like, to really execute that? It could be intimidating. So it's easier to come back to yourself, make it about yourself, right? And just come to the Connect group, potentially just feeling safe with your group, coming to church, kind of staying within that bubble. How do you get outside of that when you're facing an obstacle of like, I'm scared. I don't want to do that. They might think this way about me, So it's like, okay, it sounds like there's a decision that needs to be made if you claim to call yourself a disciple, a Christ follower. Like what does that look like for the person that's trying to figure out, okay, like I want to get involved in what's happening here, like, but I'm scared and I don't know how to overcome this fear because I feel like I don't know enough, like not going back to that unworthy piece, but more so of like
I just want
to know, I want to know like how to do it. Like, I'm fired up after this, but where do I go from here? So
this is my toxic trait, right? Like I feel like I have to have every single contingency planned for. Like if I have to know the 3 waves of implications out about what could happen, so I can prepare for all of them.
Right.
And when that guy said, "The harvest is plentiful," pray that he just throws out workers. that really challenged me because it's like, okay, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to feel like you don't have to have a degree in this to go and do it. I mean, some of the best, I wouldn't even say ministers because I think that just kind of plays into that idea that like the leaders and the pastors are the ones doing the ministry.
Right.
But like this, just a person who's a Christian, like some of the strongest Christians that I've seen on mission weren't even leaders, and they were just ones that knew like, oh, I just jumped in. Like I figured it out as I went. And I think, and that's where we kind of come in, right? Because our job is to equip people for ministry. Our job is to give you the tools to help you. If you feel like I don't know how to do this, we need to help you do that.
Right.
But sometimes it can get, the logistics of ministry can kind of pull us away from even being able to do that because it's like, okay, how many things can I juggle in a week?
Right.
And also equip you, which is why all hands on deck helps, because when all hands are on deck, it's like, okay, now I'll take you and you and you and you, and then I'll get you guys to help take these people, and we'll just figure out a way to equip everybody from the top down.
Okay.
And it's kind of like in Exodus, whenever Moses has got like all these people, like hundreds of thousands of people, and he's trying to lead them all by himself. And Jethro says, "What are you doing? No, like take groups of these people and put people over them and put people under them and over them and just have it to be more manageable.
Help my man out.
Because then you can do so much more.
Right.
And I didn't plan on going here, but it's something that has really stuck with me. So like my dad's last words to me were, "Take some weight off and you can do more."
Sheesh.
And it was in the context of lifting weights because that's what was going on.
Okay.
But it's kind of stuck with me, and it's kind of been relatable, but it's also the hardest thing for me because I'm the type of person who, like, when I was in youth, I'm the one getting paid to do this. I'm the one who needs to do the lion's share of all of this. Or, you know, I just feel like I want to do it so I can get it done right. And it's like, take some of that weight off.
Yeah.
So you all can do more.
Yeah.
Because we're all called to do it.
Yeah.
And you know, we've each been given gifts and talents and abilities. And in a lot of ways, like, as leaders, we over time, I don't know if it's just church culture in general, being like, hey, we'll just take them to the leaders, and the leaders are going to be the ones that train them up. It's like, well, we all need to be a part of this.
Yeah, and I think a good perspective to this point, for like a congregant's perspective, is to realize the difference between like this life's rewards and like the eternal rewards. Because I think we'll get so caught up in our job and like trying to get the promotion or trying to impress the boss or trying to get X home or like whatever that end game is. We get so fixated while the church is still moving, the church is still happening, and it's like, you know, where's such and such? Oh, he's got, you know, a situation going on and he's really invested there right now. So, you know, we're not going to really, you know, press that. We're going to keep it moving. It's like, man, what is the point for a congregant to understand, like, man, we should be focused on the eternal, like, implications of what's going on, not so much the worldly things that our flesh does crave. Yeah. Like, how do we delineate the two to really focus on, like, okay, my perspective needs to be eternal and not worldly. Like, just to help with the perspective of why I'm even here in the first place, to get that conviction back, to say that whatever the church needs, man, I'm going to serve the church however I can. Like, I think it's difficult, man. Like
in Revelation, it's like, hey, return to your first love. Like, do the things you did at first.
Right.
And one thing that got said at the conference that was interesting, they said a Christian's going to be on mission the first year and a half of their faith more than any other time in their life of their faith.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's kind of interesting. It's like, hey, return to the things you did at first. What was the thing that most Christians did at first? They're on fire for it.
Right.
Like, they get the perspective. They understand, like, man, this does change everything. And then I think over time, you know, because we live in a world where we do think we need to have a job. We need to, like, take care of our families. We need to do these things. And those are good things, because in a lot of places, those are our first ministry. But even sometimes we don't even see that as ministry because we get so caught up in this life.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's why it's good to not just be an attendant of a church, but to participate in a church. Which is just kind of funny when you think about it, because a church is a group of people, so you can't really attend a group of people. You either are just attending and not participating. Yeah. But if you participate in a group of people, that means you're building community, you're building connections,
right? And
as a result, like, you have the people helping to point you back to that perspective. Yeah. Like, I can't tell you how blessed I feel, like, having the friends I had in the past who had been in ministry with me, having everybody here on staff and leaders, and even just people that come to church here that are part of my community, because they help to kind of anchor me. Yeah. Because I mean, everybody off by themselves, you're going to start to feel the weight of the world we live in, and because you know, like, it's demands on you because you got to eat. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I just think it's so important to be connected to people to kind of root us back in that, and also, like, to help us equipped. And one thing as leaders, because in some ways, because there's been so much a demand on leaders to do most ministry in other church settings.
Oh, for sure.
It kind of like I need people to come to me like my leader did in youth and say, hey, like, remember what you're called to do. You're not called to carry the entire, like, backpack by yourself. Like, give us some of the stuff too. Yeah. And I think and that's a way that you can say, okay, like, this person gets it. Like, they're asking for you for more equipping. Like, and I think that's a sign of maturity, and I think that's something that we all should aspire to, because the thing is, even as leaders, like, we have leaders and people that we need to be equipped from as well.
Exactly.
So everybody's getting stuff down from somebody else, and we're continuing to pass it down the line so that we all have what we need for the mission. We're all equipped. We all have the weapons for the battle. We all have the tools to fix the aircraft whenever they land on the boat, to kind of get back to that thing. But yeah, I think I don't know. That's just kind of nice to to be, because we need to be reminded as well as leaders and the staff.
Yeah. I think you brought up a good point too. I know we were talking earlier about community and what that looks like. And I think it's so, I know for me, it's been very pivotal having just a rock solid community to do life with, be transparent with, because you have a safe place where you can, like, I know I was saying the other side of it earlier, but when you find yourself doing life by yourself, I think we've both been there where we're kind of just on an island by ourselves. It's not healthy for you.
Nope.
Like, it's
not good for a man to be alone.
It's not, man. And, I think when you experience community for the first time in a healthy manner, in a spiritual way, your whole world changes, man.
And here's the challenge too, right? Because something that you said, we can kind of silo ourselves off and we get that and we crave it so much because a lot of us have been on the island and we get that. We find something healing for us and we're like, this is just for me now.
Exactly.
But then you think about it, there's so many other people on islands
that need that,
that need that.
Yeah.
So how do we move a step beyond? Like, okay, I've been in the hospital bed. How do I take a step off and start like helping take care of people and help make space?
Right.
Whether it's being like, okay, let's find a way to bring 2 more people into our group. Let's find a way to multiply our group. Let's find a way to, I hate to say it, like I feel like we all need to kind of be more mindful of the harvest. Like we all, you always hear growing up, hey, if you see the kid by themselves in the lunchroom, go sit with them. And it's like, does that burden you? Like when you see other people who are on the island, when you see the world around us, you see the people who are far from God, the people who are seeking, the people who show up. Like sometimes we have people show up in the lobby, like when a service is going on, they're like, yeah, this is my first time.
Right.
And it's like, dang, we need more people in the lobby so that we can make sure that they don't just walk in and nobody's there.
Seriously.
And they just be like, oh, well, I guess.
But I think it's another thing, man, like when we're serving our people, when the church attenders even that have been here for a while, when they learn how to serve people, I think a part of that is we all have our different personalities.
Yeah.
I'm an introvert. I will quickly go into a closet and be happy all by myself, period. But I've learned, like Justin, like that's not who God has called me to be. You have to get outside of yourself. What does it look like to die to myself? I have to die to my flesh because I know I want to be by myself, and I don't feel like having a whole conversation because I know emotionally, mentally, it depletes me. It takes away so much, but it takes away much of me, but it's not about me. And I think trying to figure that out for yourself and what that looks like to be able to serve the community, the church, like is so important, man.
Yeah, I think it is that it's true. And you just said something. I completely lost what you said, but it kind of sparked something in my head.
Yeah.
Just completely lost it. But yeah, I think it is so important for us as leaders to model this.
Right.
Because really it all starts with us. And sometimes we feel like, okay, we're doing so much stuff. We have to carve out space for it too. We can't just expect other people to make space without us willing to making space for it.
Exactly. Yep.
And it might be like, well, dang, this is asking a lot of me, but once again, it's not about me. I remember what I was going to say earlier too.
Speak on it.
Because you said sometimes we're introverted, sometimes we're extroverted. Well, the thing that's beautiful, I think sometimes we just assume that anything related to ministry is extroverted. And sure, to some degree, you're dealing with people. So there's going to be some stretching in different ways. And maybe God's like, in your situation, where you feel more introverted, God's like, I'm calling you to be uncomfortable and to stretch yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so sometimes he calls us to do that, but there are also other places in ministry where you can be more introverted and more behind the scenes. You can be in the boiler room of the ship,
right?
Because that's where you feel more comfortable. Yeah. But if you don't have the boiler room going, the ship's not going anywhere.
True.
And you don't have the energy you need to actually do things from the other. So it's literally like the Bible is just so smart, like it's like, God was just really knowing what he was doing when he was cooking up some of this stuff. It's like, it works like a body. Yeah. The church is a body. Jesus is the head.
Right.
The leaders are not the head. The pastors are not the head. They're just other parts of the body.
Who's the head? Who's the head?
Jesus is the head.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Did I not say that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to, but yeah, like everybody plays a part, and every part working together is how we actually, as a community of faith, become the hands and feet of Jesus. And that's how we go out into the world and do this mission that he's called us to do, to reap that harvest, to send out more people, to do the things greater things than what we could even imagine that he's called us to do, because we can sometimes think so small.
Right.